6th, 2022 meeting of the Littleton Conservation Commission. So with the quorum in attendance, we'll go ahead and get started. Our first items of the meeting tonight are administrative matters. And the very first one in line is the LWD/COG CR update. And I will point out before we get started for this one, I did check with the State Ethics Commission when it comes to like recusals, because I do have a family member that works for LWD. They said that I'd have to file a disclosure of an appearance of a conflict of interest, even though it really isn't one. I didn't have time to file one of those to the select board in time for tonight's meeting, so I'll have to hide in the shadows for this particular discussion. But with that, why don't we go ahead and get started?
Great, thanks, Andrew. Good to see everyone. We'll just take a few minutes, hopefully here, try to keep it brief. Just a quick update on the work we've been doing over the past 6 weeks or 2 months since we last spoke with you about this project. And we've also been working with the Littleton Conservation Trust in the meantime, meeting with them a couple of times. And they had very similar concerns as you folks did with this project. One of those being some way to limit the location on the parcels where we may or may not build a treatment plant in the future. And so if I can just share my screen real quick here, I'll just show you a quick sketch of what we're sort of proposing now to address that concern. All right, can everyone see that? Yep. That's a plan that you've probably all seen before. It was put together a year or two ago. And then the red that you see on there, which I'm going to try to zoom in on here a little bit. The red is sort of the proposed revised location for the easement area. So the prior one is in the dashed black, which you can kind of see in here. It was really just providing access to each of the wellheads, and then a very small area over here by well number 1, where some very small facility could be built. So we're proposing that we revise the easement area to be this entire red area, and that would be the only location that we would be allowed to build any sort of infrastructure, I guess, in the future in terms of like a treatment plant. And that we're hoping, we've shared this with LCT just recently as well. Haven't gotten the feedback from them yet on it, but we're hoping that this will address some of the concerns where I think folks were a little bit worried that we would just sort of have, willy-nilly access to the entire zone 1 area, able to do whatever we wanted in there. So including this revised easement area would really limit that to just this area here, which gives us a little bit of flexibility to put the treatment plant where we need to, but also limits us pretty significantly as well. So you can see the zone 1 area, these dashed overlapping circles here. So it would leave the majority of that area untouched by us. So we'll send this to Amy so that you can all kind of take a closer look after the fact, so she can distribute it to you all. And then the other real quick update I just wanted to give, so I'll just change which screen I'm sharing here, is that we have a draft town meeting article as of today, which we'll also send to Amy to distribute to you all. It's pretty brief here. It's essentially just authorizing the Board of Selectmen to petition the legislature through the Article 97 process to amend the conservation restrictions that we've discussed at the previous meetings. You've all seen those drafts of those proposed changes or amendments to the conservation restrictions. And what else does this do, Avery? I think that's
yeah. So exactly what Corey said. Part 1 is the language that would give the select board the authorization to file the legislation under Article 97. And then part 2 would authorize the Board of Water Commissioners to accept the easements that have been amended. Part 3 authorizes the transfer of the interests in lots 9, 10, and 11 from the Conscom to the water commissioners. And I'll pause there. The Conservation Commission is not losing any interests in these parcels. You are still holding the care, custody, and control of these lots. All this is doing is allowing the water commissioners to have the easement. It's sort of a legal technicality, but you are not losing any of your rights in those parcels. And then Point 4 allows us to take any other actions that may be necessary to carry out the intent of this article, including the recording of any documents with the registry. The motion, I just want to point out that the motion will look a little bit different when town meeting sees it. The motion will have expanded language under point 1 to give a better sense as to what the Article 97 legislation will look like. We are still waiting on some last minute comments from the state before drafting that piece of legislation, but we are confident that we will have it by November.
Excellent. Thanks, Adria. So I think the last time we spoke, the idea came up that maybe we should have a smaller group. I think it was Chase and Michael that were identified at that meeting to sort of meet with us separately so that we could make a little bit quicker progress. But unfortunately, none of those meetings have come to fruition yet. I was hoping we could get something set up in the next week or two to do that, but I don't see either Chase or Michael on the meeting tonight. So doesn't look very promising that we'll be able to do that this evening. But I'm hoping that that's the next step here. So I guess we'll just try to, through email, or maybe I'll even give Chase a call tomorrow. We'll try to set something up to do that so that we can make a little more progress before your next meeting in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I would suggest you might want to call Chase directly.
Yeah.
And try to pin him down. And unfortunately, Michael's about to go into surgery. I don't know if the rest of the commissioners had heard this, although he said he's hopeful he'll be at the meeting on the 20th. So, but I assume the commission can find someone else, or Chase can handle it, or if somebody else wants to jump in, they can jump in since they haven't started yet the review of it.
Right.
So what do you need from?
Oh, sorry.
What do you need from the commission to make town meeting? Is the language of whatever this MOU going to be need to be finalized, or how's that work?
So from a legal perspective, the MOU does not need to be finalized prior to town meeting. I think it's our hope and the water department's hope that we can have an MOU agreed upon prior to town meeting so that we are going to town meeting with a clear understanding to share with the community as to what is going to happen on these lots. So I think, Corey reaching out to Chase seems like the next best step. And then we can work quickly to try to get a draft MOU in a more there's already a draft, but a more polished draft ready for the commission's review at its next meeting.
Yeah. I think we're hoping to have a vote of support from the Conscom by town meeting. And so whatever we need to do to get to that point, so that I think, like Ivry just mentioned, we need to have that sort of those separate meetings to make a little more progress here and make sure that the entire commission is then comfortable with the MOU, the draft amendments to the CRs, and the town meeting article itself, and that plan that I just showed. So it's really, I guess, 4 kind of sets of documents. So we're obviously unable to make a whole lot of progress on your regularly scheduled Conscom meetings because you have a lot of other things on the agenda. So it's really critical that we get these separate meetings set up. So I'll give Chase a direct call tomorrow morning, and hopefully that'll move things along. And hopefully we can come back at your next meeting and have some more progress to share.
And just so, do you know, just so I know, when do the warrants close, or when do you need the vote by?
So the warrant closes on the 20th, the select board of September. Town meeting is November 1st. The select board is viewing the warrant for the first time on the 12th. I think that's right. Is that right? Let me just now that I'm saying that, let me just double check.
I mean, like special meeting for us, Amy, to get it voted?
I'm not sure. Do you need the commission's vote by the 20th?
I don't know.
Would you be able to just have it not on the floor, but mention it on the floor at town
Oh,
meeting.
gotcha. Yeah,
In the past, what we've liked to do is just have it before the town meeting report goes to the printer, and that way it could get printed in there. And if we can't do it by then, and I don't have that date off the top of my head, I don't know if you have that either.
I don't know.
But that's a day that's it'd be after September 20th. It'd probably be early to mid-October is my guess.
Yeah, usually it's 2.5 weeks, I think, for the printer, with a day of page that's usually printed. So I think we have some time on that.
Ideally, it would go in the town meeting report that gets mailed out to everyone, but if not, we can have a handout that day of, and that's fine too. So in theory, we have up until the end of October at the latest. All right. So unless anyone has other questions or anything they'd like us to address right now, we'll just plan on reaching out to Chase, and if you want to identify any other member that you'd like to be part of that, since it sounds like Michael might not be available over the next couple of weeks, then please let us know. Otherwise, we'll just plan on going through Chase for now. All right.
Sounds good.
And Amy, I can circulate these documents to you tomorrow morning, and you can share them with the commission at your leisure.
Great. Sounds good.
All right. Thank you all very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night.
Yeah.
All right. So our first public hearing of the night, the 7:35 continued public hearing notice of intent, 15 Douglas Road, Mass DEP file number 204-0950, and enforcement order for the construction of a patio. Is there anyone here tonight to present this matter before the board?
I actually told them they didn't need to come. This is sort of administrative because this is a sort of an after the fact notice of intent. And the commission was kind of waiting for the work to be done before issuing the order. And the work is done and it's basically ready for certificate of compliance, at which point I realized an order had never either been issued. So I think the commission can either vote to issue an order of conditions, which is probably the best way to go, or just have him withdraw the notice of intent. And then we can wrap up the enforcement order later. So your pleasure.
All right.
We can't remove the enforcement order and provide an order of conditions at the same time. Is that what you're?
If you issue an order of conditions, then he's going to need a certificate of compliance. That you can't do on the same day. Or I assume that's probably bad form to do that on the same day.
Yes, yeah, that would probably wouldn't look very good on the books. Right, but we can close the public hearing, issue the order of conditions, and remove the enforcement order. But those are probably two separate votes, but
Yeah. And then clean up the certificate of compliance after the order gets recorded.
yeah, right, you have to get that recorded first. So
Yeah.
Would anybody like to make a motion to that effect?
yeah, so I'll make a motion that we close the public hearing and issue an order of conditions for 15 Douglas Road, SCP number 204-0950.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All
It's a
right,
tie.
roll call vote. A tie for second. Roll call vote. Carl.
Carl Melberg, aye.
Kyle.
So I
Brian.
Brian Crowley, aye.
Myself, aye. It's unanimous. All right, perfect.
So I can follow it up with making a motion to lift the enforcement order for releasing said project.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, roll call vote. Carl.
Carl Melberg, aye.
Kyle.
So I
Brian.
Brian Crowley, aye.
Myself, aye. It's unanimous.
Thank you.
Perfect. All right. And actually, we're right on time for our next hearing, 7:45. So here we've got a public hearing, notice of intent, 7 Snow Drive, DEP file number 204-0971, replacement of a septic system. Is there anyone here tonight to speak for this application?
Yep, it's me, Chris Stoddard.
Good evening. Oh, hey, Chris.
Howdy. I think most of you know me or recognize me. Do you want me to share my screen?
That'd be
Yes,
great.
please.
Let's see. All right, can everybody see that? I'll zoom in.
Yep. It's a little far out though.
Yeah, but I'll zoom in. Yeah, hold on. Okay, so this is for a septic system replacement on Snow Drive. For reference, north is straight up and down. Snow Drive comes in from Great Road. Great Road's over here. Can you see my hand moving? That's Great Road. So what we have is we had an existing cesspool located in the backyard right here. So we did some soil testing to confirm that we could put a replacement septic system in. We tried to site it as far away from the bordered vegetated wetlands as we could. Those were down in this area. We did flag them. Amy went out there and confirmed the flagging was adequate. So you can see we do have the 50-foot. We are, the grading has encroached inside the 50-foot buffer zone. We tried to keep the system as tight to the house as we could. Obviously, we couldn't go right up against it because we do have a required offset per Title V. We couldn't move it in the front lawn because there's a massive tree in there, and plus the water line, and it was cost prohibitive to, one, we didn't want to cut down a big giant tree, and two, to relocate the water line and everything would have been just massively expensive. So we do have all the infrastructure, all the piping, everything is located outside the 50-foot buffer. Just the, like I said, the grading within it. We are proposing silt fence and straw wattles around the entire project. This area down in here is actually all existing lawn right now. As you can see, there's a shed located right there. I think it's a fairly simple project. We try to do our best to stay as far away from the area as we could, and I think we did that, but I can answer any questions that you guys have.
Perfect. Does anybody from the board have any questions?
Did you say the septic is a cesspool currently?
Yeah, correct. It's currently a cesspool. So that'll be, obviously that'll be pumped and filled in as part of the project.
And I'm assuming the waiver for this particular project is public health because you're doing the upgrading from perfect.
The waiver's completed. I guess I didn't see one. That was going to be my question, Andrew. So.
Yeah, I think I sent it to you, Amy, correct?
Yeah, it did. I think it came in later, so it might not have gotten attached to what was on the webpage, but it was the basic public health with the alternatives that Chris ran through.
Are there any other questions from the members?
Chris, is there a stockpile area that you have identified? I don't see it on the plan.
No, actually, everything's being hauled away. There is no stockpile. We don't have all the material. Will be leaving the site, and anything that stays on the site will be immediately spread out as far as the grading is concerned. So there won't be a stockpile.
Okay.
There's too much material that's crap that has to come out. So it's all
okay.
good.
Great.
Bringing material in?
Yeah. So
other than, because it looks like the grades come up a little bit from what's out there right now.
Yeah, so all the stuff within the footprint is going to be septic sand. So that's everything in here will be hauled out and we'll have to haul back in septic sand. Any extra we will use, and they'll establish the grading around here immediately. So there won't be a stockpile of material on site. Plus there's extra material for the tanks. Those take about a truckload a piece. So that material will have to go too.
This is all, you probably said it's all lawn yard right now. So there's no trees or anything back there.
No, yeah, no, everything up to the wetland area is all existing lawn right now.
Like manicured lawn, the grass all the way up to the. Have you been out to the site, Amy? I guess so.
Yeah, it's lawn up to it. There's a little bit of shrubby area and drops into the wetland.
Do the members feel like a site walk would be in order for this particular project, or do we feel that one's warranted for this?
I feel comfortable. It's in my neighborhood, so I'm familiar with how the houses are laid out.
Does everybody else feel the same?
I agree. I don't feel a site walk is necessary for this project.
It's for me.
Perfect. Are there any members of the public in attendance that would like to speak to this particular hearing? All right, seeing and hearing none. What's the pleasure of the board? Would we like to close and issue an order of conditions tonight? Well, actually, I don't think we have a DP file number, do we?
Yes.
Yeah, you should have it. I have it.
That's one last one. It's our next
Oh, we
one.
do. Perfect. All right.
I will make a motion that we close the public hearing and issue an order of conditions for 7 Snow Drive, Mass DEP file number 204-0971,
And a waiver.
and a waiver. Thank you, Amy.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, roll call vote. Carl,
Carl Melberg, aye.
Brian,
Ryan Crowley, aye.
Kyle,
Still aye.
myself, aye. It's unanimous. All right, so good luck with the project.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
You two have a good night.
Take a look.
Let's see, so our next public hearing doesn't start until 8 p.m. So why don't we knock a few more administrative matters off the agenda first? And I just realized that we skipped over the meeting minutes. So we have to approve tonight the meeting minutes from August 2nd.
Actually, August 16th. That was a cut and paste error.
I was going to say that seems like too far back.
I know. Yes. Very good.
Does anybody have any edits, comments, questions regarding the draft minutes from August 16th? Oh, Kyle, I think you're on mute.
So I don't have any comments on the minutes, but so Amy, have you passed this on to Tim? Does he read your note, or because Tim, did you prepare the minutes this week?
Yeah.
Initially, yeah.
One less thing for Amy to deal with. That's great. Thanks for the help. No, they looked good. I didn't have any issues.
Thanks. Would anybody like to make a motion?
Sure. I will make a motion that Conservation Commission approves the meeting minutes from August 16th, 2022.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, roll call vote. Carl,
Carl Melberg, aye.
Brian,
Ryan Crowley, aye.
Kyle,
Kyle Maxfield, aye.
myself, aye. They're approved, unanimous. All right, moving down the line, we have a request for certificate of compliance, DEP file number 204-319, 204-326, and 204-328.
You may remember these are the ones that folks over on Grist Mill and that whole area keep getting caught up in because a original certificate compliant was never done. So they've been issuing partial certificates. Ed Mullen actually was able to track down the DiCarlo family and get them to submit for a final certificate of compliance. So I think this is all ready to go, and then we can clean it up, and a lot of property owners will be pretty happy about it.
Oh, fantastic. All right, would anybody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we issue certificate of compliance for DEP number 204-319, 204-326, and 204-328.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, roll call vote. Brian,
Ryan Crowley, aye.
Carl,
Carl Melberg, aye.
Kyle,
Kyle Maxfield, aye.
myself, aye. It's unanimous. All right, on to the next one. We have a request for certificate of compliance, 67 Mill Road, or is that Mill Lane?
I can never remember, which is why I didn't put down either one of them.
Mass DEP file number 204-873.
So this is, if you remember, right after you cross the sort of little bridge across the mill, it was the red house. It was torn down and rebuilt in the same Ted Doucette project. I had this one on the agenda because I just needed a monitoring report from them. It looked like they did all the plantings they're supposed to do, rather significant amount of plantings. But they need to get somebody out there just to confirm that in writing. So it's actually not ready. And I don't know if anybody wanted to either do a site walk or do a drive-by to take a look. Anyway, since it's going to be kicked off to the next meeting in any case.
Do we want to set up a site walk for, oh, Carl, go ahead.
No, what are we looking for, Amy, if we do a drive-by?
Mostly, I mean, the property's a little rough. It is stabilized. It's just not like, gorgeously landscaped. They did maintain or create the 10-foot no-mow zone with plantings. They put up the boulders around the driveway that they were supposed to put up. There has been some stuff sort of volunteering in there for growth. And, unfortunately, this time of year, they put in 50 pollinator plants like violets and other stuff, columbine, which you're just not going to see right now. Which is why I thought it was worth having someone go in there and just do a monitoring report and express that they didn't prove that they did, in fact, plant the stuff and that there's stuff volunteering and it's stable. So you really would just be driving by and look at the conditions on the ground.
Alrighty, so I guess we'll all each take a drive by at our convenience, and at our next meeting, we'll take some action on the matter.
If I get my monitoring report.
All right, I think we have time for one more of these before our next hearing. Request for certificate of compliance, 83 Mill Blank, Mass DEP file number 204-927.
This was just a septic replacement a little further up. Basically been waiting for the grass to grow, which is just done. But they were supposed to take out the erosion controls before you issue a certificate of compliance. And as far as I know, that did not happen today. So that gets kicked down the road also.
Okay, so we'll take this up at our next meeting as well. Actually, maybe we have time for, oh, nope. We've got less than 2 minutes before our next hearing, and it looks like the I-495 spill update has been tabled to September 20th. We're still awaiting a site walk on that.
I did call DEP to make sure a site walk was actually being set up, and they did know that we wanted a site walk, so we're getting there.
I think that the consultant is going to would push as well, knowing that we're not going to move on this until we see that. So,
yeah, and well, you don't really have anything to move on other than
that's
DEP,
true too.
but yeah, exactly. DEP was more than willing to hear it. They said they knew there's a problem because it was the end of August. Everybody was on vacation. They couldn't get people together. So he has been trying.
All right, we've got about 30 seconds more before our next hearing.
The Northbridge Quarter 5 report, I just sent that around to you just so you all can look at it. And at some point we can have them back in. And also in that same area, the water department is doing the 15-day pump test behind there. So Tim and I will probably go out there in the next day or two just to watch the water get pumped out, see how it's going.
Perfect.
I'd be curious to see what the discharge area looks like. So I imagine you'll check that out.
Yep.
All right, it's now 8 p.m. We'll go ahead and open up our next public hearing. Notice of intent, 35 Queen Road, Mass DEP file number 204-09 blank. House demolition as required by building inspector. Is there anyone here tonight to speak to this matter?
Yeah, this was a Sean Keenan project, and I guess he's not making it tonight. It's a demolition that's been required by the building department. But I will let Sean speak to it on the 20th, I guess, at this point.
Did we hear anything from him about him not being able to attend tonight?
I did not hear from him. This one, it might be worth you driving down to the end of Queen to take a look, more than any others. It's the wetlands, if you look at the map, is right behind the house. I mean, like 5 or 10 feet away from the house. The house clearly has to come down. I think the question will be, if they take down the house, which they're mandated to do they reserve any sort of right to build a new one? So that might be part of the discussion. Taking down the house is one thing. For the notice of intent, sort of a separate discussion about what, if any, grandfathering they may be able to retain.
So what? So
Yes, do you know?
So the building inspector is requiring demolition because the house is has been considered just non-livable and a danger.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, so I guess we do need to know any further discussions that's been held with the building department in regard to replacing the house.
Yeah, and let me see. I'll try to send Sean an email right now and see if he can stop, call in quickly later, but we can't, I don't think he can get much further.
Yeah,
and there's no DEP number yet anyway.
yeah, we don't want to fall in that trap of another department saying one thing and then coming to us.
Oh, I checked with Ed Mullen. That house has got, and he and I took a drive over it. It has to come down. I would suggest that you guys drive by, don't drive in, walk in. But it'll take you like 2 minutes to get an idea of what it looks like.
all right. We'll see if our applicant will respond to the email within a few minutes, but if not, we'll have to continue till the next meeting. Amy, is this house on the section of Queen Road over by the entrance to Long Lake Park, or is it's on the other side, right?
It's right at the end of Queen.
Okay.
Yeah, because then is that the paper road that goes over towards you? Is that Queen also? Does it take a sharp right maybe?
I think it cuts through actually the entrance to Long Lake Park and then over, or maybe in the opposite direction.
It's not at the entrance where they have the winter entrance because of the snow plowing that goes on. There you go.
Thanks, Kyle.
Oh yes, Queen. It's the end of Ipswich is where you want to go drive down actually.
Oh, it's down there.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that any structure built in there would be within the 50?
Yes. And almost entirely.
So then I'd say it's non-buildable.
I think that's the discussion to have when they come in. Like I said, the demolition is one thing, whether or not he can retain any rights to build something new on the foundation, which I'm not even sure a foundation exists in there.
Yes.
Is a separate. I told him he's just at risk.
Yeah. So you clearly don't know if there is any sort of grandfather rule like that, but should they reach out to Ed, or should Ed come in too for him, or what?
It's
just come in.
It's two different beasts. I mean, under zoning, he retains certain grandfathering, I believe, but I'm not sure. But that is entirely separate from whether or not Conscom would see that as a structure. We've had this discussions, I think, with 67 Mill to a degree, because that was a total tear down. But there was a foundation there, and he reused the foundation, I think, and actually pulled back a little bit. And I think what Kyle Mann did over on, I forget the name of the road, that was a tear down and rebuild.
Oh,
in the same footprint. Or the footprint came out a little bit, but I think you need to table most of this from when the applicant is here. But I was going to say the the 9:31 and the 9:32 meetings are just going to be about whether or not anybody wants a site walk over on the two single family homes on Grimes. That was kind of left open because they were going to go to, I think, Board of Health first. So they weren't coming in tonight. So I don't know if anybody wanted to have a site walk. I think, Carl, you might be the only one who wasn't here on the 16th.
No, I wasn't. I was not around on the 16th.
So it's just a question of whether anybody wants a site walk. And if you want to schedule one, we can do that now and then talk about it again at 9:31, but that's all those two are. These are two more, Carl, single family homes in the line on Grimes where the delineation has been approved.
A little more straightforward than the previous ones.
Yeah.
is there any interest in going out to see them again? I feel like we've been out to Grimes Lane like 1,000 times.
Sure, but
Okay.
I need to see those ones.
We still have about 9 minutes before we can start our next hearing. Are there any other administrative matters that we could maybe tackle while we're waiting?
Well, the only one I wanted to add is the November meetings are getting derailed because November 1st is special town meeting and November 8th is election. And while Diane Crowley said you may not have a meeting on those nights, it's strongly, strongly, strongly urged not to have one. And I would assume especially for a special town meeting. So that means potentially we could move the meeting to November 15th and then only have one meeting in November, or have like the 15th and I can't read this, the 22nd, back to back. Because no matter what we do, if we put in a second meeting now into November, we're either going to be back to back to November meetings or back to November, December meetings. So.
Yeah, it's going to be tough either way.
Well, so what if could we change up our October schedule so that we don't meet?
I looked at that. There's already some people that are applying to submit for the October 4th because it's already been there.
Yep, that seems right. But what if we move the next one to the 25th? So we're 3 weeks, and then it would be 3 more weeks into November, right? Before the.
Right. Yeah, we can do that. I don't think.
I feel if we have our October meetings on the 4th and the 18th, which is what the schedule would be now, I think, and then we don't meet until the 15th of November, we're asking for a hurt of meeting.
Yeah, so that's actually a good idea. So we can do October 4th and 25th.
Right.
And then November 15th and then December, the first Monday in December. Because I didn't want to push December into December 27th. That's kind of a bad time to try to have a meeting.
Yeah, right. That would put us on the 6th and the 20th in December. So yeah.
Right. Which is what we are right now. Okay, so does that sound reasonable?
Sounds good.
Sounds good to me too.
And I'll also say that if by the end of October, things are looking really grim for November, you could maybe slot in an extra meeting. They might not have any new public meetings, but it could attend to old business. Because theoretically, maybe, who knows, Healy Corner Tadawans coming back in.
All right, we've got 5 more minutes before our next.
Good. I have a question for Amy then. Land use permits. I guess the general question is, I owe a Girl Scout troop like some time under the stars, using telescope and whatnot, looking up into the sky, and I'm trying to find a place that might be off into a little bit of dark and quiet, whether it's even just going into like the parking area of Cloverdale or the right where the art configuration. I don't know how dark it gets there at night, but I know our conservation it's what dawn to dusk type there, dawn to sunrise to sunset, right? And then there's supposed to be no access. I was wondering if that's completely, is it flexible, or do I need to apply for something like that to make it work, or what's that process?
So we've actually had other land use permits issued for like overnight camping for the Scouts. So it's definitely doable. I think you just have to mention in the application that it's going to be overnight. And in terms of an area, what about the field up at Long Lake Park and back of the old AT&T tower?
Yeah, okay. That'd be good. Yeah, that'd be a great spot. All right, so it's just something that I guess I would need to tell
whether
someone.
or not it's mowed.
Yeah.
It looks like actually Jim just went through and did a couple passes, so it's got a really nice wide path going through it right now that would be should be wide enough for some telescoping.
Because they'll be walking
I mean,
around.
talking like
in dark.
five girls, a few adults, probably nothing, and it would maybe on a Saturday evening for a couple hours, nothing. It wouldn't be overnight. It wouldn't be camping. It would just be getting out there while it's dark, so they can see things. So, all right. So I could submit something to Amy, I guess, some sort of
Yep.
land use permit. Okay.
Yeah, I'll send you the form.
There's a lot of poison ivy up on top of the hill, Kyle. I'd just be careful about that.
Okay. Yeah, I'll certainly look around for spots.
Yeah, because depending on how many cars you'll have, Newtown Hill might be good too.
That's where I was thinking, was going up onto Newtown Hill.
Yeah, you can't park too many cars in there though.
Yeah, it would only be a few, I think, at most.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where I was. Another spot.
If you wanted to walk out, then you're just walking up a paved road.
Right. Exactly. Yep. Okay. All right. Great. Thank you.
That's a good point. I don't know if you want to be walking through the long stretch back to the parking lot on Harwood Avenue.
Yeah.
All right, we've got 3 more minutes. Does anybody else have any other matters that they'd like to discuss? To kill a little more time, 2 more minutes.
No, the invasive species thing, I think we'd mentioned before, is on September 17th, if we get enough people to sign up for it. And discussing with Conservation Trust about walk and sort of opening for Brown's Woods and through Town Forest and all that stuff in probably late October.
Oh, that'd be great.
Because Jim's out there building like crazy.
Mm.
And the Scouts are going nuts. We got the Boardwalk Bridge at Morrison Trail is done. Brian Beltrami is going to start the stairs that go down into Town Forest from Harwood. I think he's getting going on that. Dexter Corey is going to do a boardwalk at Yap off of kind of University Ave area where it's Rick had a kind of floating bridge through there, but it needs work. And who is it? Neil, whose last time I'm going to forget, or Cop is doing one at the Williams property when you kind of first get into the main portion of the property. And then Emily Boyer is doing the trail at Brown's Woods. So we're getting a lot out of these guys this year.
That's fantastic.
They've been fantastic.
All right, it's
Did
now-
we vote on that at our last meeting to provide funds for one of those? A certain amount?
Yeah, and then I don't think I actually took a vote, and we will have a thank you letter that you guys can take a look at too at the next meeting or so. And I checked with the powers that be, and you cannot donate to the Scouts.
Oh,
You could probably buy materials for them.
Buy materials for them. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm gonna come up with something that when a scout comes in, I can say, let us know what you need. Make sure you take before and after pictures and tell us what businesses donated to you. So just remember to ask them every time for this information, because it's a good thing to have.
All right, it's now 8:15. Why don't we go ahead and open up our Cooper Farm requests for certificate of compliance, DP file number 204-833. Is there anyone here to speak to this tonight? I see Matthew in the audience.
How are we?
Good evening.
Good evening.
All right.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, good. So, Amy, have you done a walkthrough up there?
No, we've not been able to do a walkthrough.
Okay. Well, I think that's the first thing we got to do. I mean, it's all done. Roads in. Everything's been corrected up there. All the silt is cleaned out, and we'd like to be done.
Yeah, so Michael's been working on basins 3 and 4, getting those all set.
3 was already done. 4 is what he was working on.
Working on, right. And they did submit the as-built that came in when the road was accepted, as well as the engineer's certification.
Correct.
And this has really nothing to do with the houses. This is just road and drainage.
Correct.
All right. Did we want to get a site walk set up tonight?
I think it'd be a great idea while you're actually sitting here.
Sounds good. What works for people? Would this Thursday after 5 work for anybody?
I'm not going to be.
Me, Andrew.
I can probably make Thursday.
Thursday at would 5:30 be good for people?
Earlier the better.
I generally can't do late in the day. I can do the midday time slot, but unfortunately I'm out for the late afternoon.
Would midday be better for everyone? Kyle, what's your
I'd be fine with midday.
midday? Kyle, would midday on Thursday?
Sorry, what was the date? I had to grab my calendar.
Oh, no worries. Would this Thursday midday be good for you?
No, that does not work for me. Sorry. It's the only day I can't do midday right now.
Let's see, how about
Or actually, I can't do midday any day this week. It's very rare.
would next Monday midday work for anyone?
That works for me.
That looks good for me right now too.
Carl,
Okay.
does that work?
I can try and make it work.
All right.
I mean, just don't bend around me. If you have folks that can make it out this week, then by all means do it.
You're welcome to go out there anytime during the week, though.
Oh, perfect. So it sounds like Monday the 12th at noon works for most, and I'll take a drive through myself. I'll be trapped in a little at the moment, at that time, unfortunately.
You can't run down for lunch break?
Oh, there's not enough time.
Yeah. Yeah, why don't we meet at Dean Lane at the little roundabout at the far end? So I'm assuming potentially Kyle, Brian, and Carl. Then I'll confirm with you guys later in the week.
All right, perfect. Sounds good.
And Sean Keenan said that he wasn't able to connect in from where he is. I told him it was tabled, so if he moves, he can still come in. Otherwise, continue to the 20th.
Sounds good. And did we have to vote to continue it? I don't know if we want to start that tonight or.
let's wait until the end, but let's not forget to, no. Well, damn it, yes, because the applicant is not there.
Okay, so we'll jump back to that in just a second. Take a vote on it. Anything else on this before we move on? Sounds like we've got a site walk set.
Excellent.
Sounds good. So we will be out there Monday the 12th at noon.
Great. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You as well. I'm on for the next meeting anyway.
Oh, perfect. All right. So jumping back to 35.
How do you guys possibly be so far ahead of schedule right now?
Yo, Amy.
We have a really good acting.
But why? Why would you say that? That's
We zip through these meetings. Boom, boom, boom.
responsible, Amy, if something goes wrong here.
But jumping back to our 35 Queen Road public hearing, did we want to take a vote to officially continue that to the next meeting since the applicant isn't present?
Yeah, sounds like we should
Yeah,
start
might as
that
well.
practice.
Let's do it now.
Would anybody like to make a motion to that effect?
A motion that we continue the public hearing notice of intent for 7 Snow Drive, Mass EP number 204-097.
Oh,
Is that the right one?
35 Queen, actually.
Sorry, 35 Queen. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong line. Mass EP 204. Oh, there's no Mass EP number.
No.
All right. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor, Kyle,
Kyle Maxwell, aye.
Brian,
Ryan Crowley, aye.
Carl,
Tom Melberg, aye.
myself, I. It's continued until the next meeting. Okay, so we have about 8 more minutes before the start of our next public hearing, and I think we've used all of our agenda items up. I don't know if we want to take a brief 8-minute recess and rejoin at 8:30. Does that work for everybody? Rather than just staring at each other for 8 minutes?
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
All right, well, we'll see each other back in 8 minutes.
Just to let you know, John O'Reilly, who just logged in, we are on a break till 8:30 when our next meeting will start. Next hearing will start.
Thank you.
Yep. Thanks for the sign.
No problem.
All right, so it's just about 8:30. We'll just give everybody a few more seconds here. All right, Brian, are you there? I didn't want to start if you're away from your computer.
Yep.
Perfect.
I'm back.
Excellent. All right. So why don't we go ahead and jump into our 8:30 continued public hearing request for amended order of conditions, 9 Ear Road, Mass DEP file number 204-0898.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Greg Roy with Dillis and Roy. I'm here representing the applicant this evening. I appreciate your time. Would it help if I shared my screen?
That'd be great.
Okay. Bear with me. Let's see. Okay, how's that? Can you all see that? The plan there?
Yep.
Hang on. Can't see any of your faces anymore. I'm expanding this window. Hold on. All right. As I said, I'm here representing the applicant, which is the original applicant, which is PMM Realty Trust. Matthew Field is a representative with PMM, is also with me this evening. Also with me this evening is the prospective buyer of the property, Brian Carlson. Actually, before I get started, I don't know, Brian, you want to just quickly introduce yourself? I thought you were, if you'd like.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep, we got you.
Yeah, so I'm Brian Carlson from Traditional Concepts. I met Amy a few weeks back, and we're looking to buy this project, and we'll be building it out and building out the houses. I just wanted to say hi tonight.
Thanks, Brian. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anyway, we're here. This application for an amended order of conditions was actually filed, I believe, back in February of 2022. It was filed at the same time that we were going through the planning board process. Just by way of recap, the project was previously permitted by the commission in the current order of conditions was issued, I believe, in October of 2019. And we had permitted a 3-lot configuration with 2 driveways accessing off of Air Road, one of which would be a shared driveway, the other would be a single driveway. All of the frontage is located, the wetland system is across on the opposite side of Air Road from the site. So the 50-foot, your 50-foot wetland offset is runs right along the edge of the road pavement, right on the shoulder of the road pavement on our side of the street. So the entirety of the frontage, about the first 50 feet of the site is located within jurisdiction of your of the Wetland Protection Act and your bylaw. So we had previously permitted the drainage and also the 2 driveway access points. Last February, we made the decision to transition this site from a single shared driveway configuration to a common driveway configuration, which is why we sought a special permit from the planning board at that time. So that has now since been approved. It's gone through peer review process. So the site now only has 1 access point. It'll be a shared access point. There will now be 4 homes, but all of the houses are outside of the 100-foot buffer zone further back into the site. So we've consolidated the previously proposed 2 curb cuts into 1. This shared driveway curb cut is in the exact same location that was previously permitted for the for one of the driveways. The drainage basins are also very similar. We tweaked those a little bit through the planning board process to respond to peer review comments. The only other thing I wanted to say was that we actually during the planning board process increased the plantings. We have the same number of plantings within the buffer zone that was approved by your commission as part of the existing order, but we also augmented some plantings just on the upgradient side of the buffer zone as well on the site that you can see on this plan. We have some starfish looking plants in here, but those are the proposed plants, these circles in here and the proposed plants. So my understanding, there was a previous buyer of the property, prospective buyer of the property that actually, Kyle Mann, that actually took this through with your commission back earlier this year. So my understanding was that we really were waiting for the peer review process to close out to make sure we had the plan revisions captured for this amended order of conditions. And so what you have in front of you is the latest plan that's been referenced in the planning board special permit dated April 8th, 2022. And so we're here tonight to hopefully close out the amended order, but certainly happy to answer any questions that any of you folks may have.
Perfect, thank you. All right, do any board members have any questions or comments regarding the updated plan?
So I don't recall that discussion going very far when Kyle came in. That's just my recollection on this. So to me, this is new information. I don't think Kyle was and Amy, was Kyle suggesting 4 house lots at that time?
Yeah, the plan you're seeing, the April 8th plan is actually the latest plan the commission did see from Kyle. And it basically just went into abeyance, as Greg said, while the third party review was finishing. And especially in the buffer zone, this is not really, obviously, one driveway instead of 2. You know, there have not been substantial changes within the buffer zone. There was a site walk where we walked around the upper edge. So
Kyle laid out the
I believe
bases.
the only thing the commission was waiting for was the third party review to be finished.
Yeah, that's my recollection, because we performed that sidewalk with Kyle, and he had kind of marked out the edges of their corners of the basins, was able to show us where those would be on the site.
I did want to point out too, the prospective buyer did sign the acknowledgement form that was sent over to us. I sent that over to Amy a little bit earlier today. So that's all taken care of as well.
Excellent. All right, are there any other questions, concerns, comments from the board members? My screen keeps freezing up. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, your video is freezing a little bit, but we can kind of hear you.
Oh, perfect. Let's see.
When did this initial project start? Initially, Amy.
The PMM, and Greg, you're probably fresher on this. The original application was 2019, is that right?
That's
And
correct.
then
Yeah.
they were doing all basically the gravel removal in there. And then it sort of went into hiatus where, if I'm remembering this right, whether or not Kyle was going to buy it or he had done this redesign with the 1 driveway instead of the 2. As he said, he came back in February, I think before then, for sort of a informal meeting to decide how the commission wanted to handle this. It was agreed to go ahead with an amended order of conditions, which he submitted in February, had maybe 2 or 3 meetings, including the site walk. And then it sort of went into hiatus again while the planning board made their decision and the potential buyer was being worked out. Now that looks like that's worked out, they're looking to wrap up the amended order conditions.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Amy.
Well, I guess I'm happy to see this project finally moving forward in regard to development of homes as it was originally laid out to us prior to the turning into a gravel pit. So I'm happy to see it actually move forward to what was originally supposed to be when it was presented to the board.
And that was also in part why I suggested they try to get the potential buyer to sign off on that affidavit, so that box was checked. That obviously, and they're here tonight, that it's clear they understand what is permitted.
Excellent. Let's see. Are there any more questions from the board members? All right. Any questions, comments from the public? All right, seeing and hearing none. What is the pleasure of the board with regard to this amended order of conditions?
I will move that we close the public hearing and issue a amended order of conditions for 9 Air Road, Mass DEP file number 204-0898.
Do we have a second?
Second.
And before you take the vote, can I just clarify who this amended order condition is being issued to? That would be to PMM or
I
to
think
Kyle?
we should, well.
I just
what-
need to know.
Go ahead, Matt.
Brian's gonna do it.
You want to issue it to Brian?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think.
Well, it goes with the land, but I just need to know who.
Yeah, it goes with the land, exactly. So I think then issue it to the entity, that was listed on the form that I sent over today, Amy.
Okay, yeah.
Traditional, I think it's Traditional Concepts, which, and that should work.
Perfect.
Thank you.
All right, we've got a motion in a second. Roll call vote. Carl.
Tom Melberg, aye.
Brian.
Brian Crowley, aye.
Kyle. Oh, I think you're on mute, Kyle.
Kyle Maxfield, aye. Work that time?
Yep, we got it. And myself, it's unanimous. All right.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you for your
Thanks,
time.
Greg.
Thank you. Good luck.
That's why this is going so fast. The roll call is so short.
It's got to be it. All right. Do I keep freezing up on you guys? My screen is like crazy here.
Again, I can mostly hear you, but your video is worse than your
Your
audio.
audio's been fine. Your video is all
Oh,
over.
perfect. As long as you can hear me, I guess. All right. So our next hearing is 2 minutes out. So we've got a minute and a half now. So we'll just give it a few more seconds before getting started. And actually, while we're waiting, I'm just going to jump in and out of the meeting real quick just to see if this fixes my connection problem. So I'll be right
There we go.
back.
Here he comes.
There we go, much better. All right. It is now 8:45, so we'll go ahead and open up our continued public hearing. Notice of intent, 6 Worcester Road, Mass DEP file number 204-0968 for the construction of an addition to a single-family house. Is there anyone here tonight to speak to this matter?
Yes, we're here. We're the homeowners, and so we've been working with GPR. So we came before you on the 16th of August, and what we needed was a stormwater management plan, which we now have, which I believe Nick from GPR is here to talk about that plan.
Oh, perfect.
Correct. Nick Pollan from GPR. So that's good that James just filled you in. I'll share my screen. you can see the plan that we've submitted, if that's all right with the acting chair.
Certainly. Thank you.
So if everyone can see this, forgive the unsanctioned color scheme. The proposed addition, approximately 500 square feet, is this darker area here. Proposed 42 square foot deck with the 100-foot buffer being this dark line here, with the wetland area being up to the top of the page. So what we found in this analysis is, of the 500 square foot addition, 542 if you count the deck, very little is actually within the buffer zone, only 136 square feet, well below the 1,000 or the 5% of standard 6, but still offering a recharge area. What we've done is taken the contributing area of the existing house as well as the proposed addition, which is represented by this blue stippled area that totals just under 550 square feet. And then taking the natural mapped hydraulic soil groups of C, which aren't the greatest recharged soils, we are actually able to calculate this impervious area would result in a net natural loss of about 11 cubic feet. So what we're providing is one prefabricated plastic recharge chamber with stone around it, which will end up actually offsetting that 11 cubic foot loss by providing 42 cubic feet. So just under a factor of 4 to 1. It's pretty straightforward from a standpoint of there are proposed and existing spouts. They'll be connected to the system here to capture that area. And along with the schematic, we also provided construction details that will show a pop-up emitter for any large overflow events, as well as an inspection port into the recharge area. Is there any specific items the commission would like me to review or get deeper involved in?
Well, what's the closest point to the wetlands?
Closest point to the wetlands is actually this existing small shed at 34 feet. The small shed at 34, the existing garage at 37, and even this larger shed at 40. The closest encroachment of the proposal is 77 feet, which is the deck.
All right, thank you.
No problem.
All right. Are there any other questions for the applicant's representative? All right. Any questions?
Andrew, can I just mention one thing that just occurred to me, and this could be a condition if the commission wants to move ahead, was there an O&M with this, Nick?
I don't know. Sorry. And Kyle sent it over to you last.
Okay, all right. Okay, that's fine.
Double check.
I couldn't remember if I saw it or not. So I'm good.
All right. Are there any questions from any members of the audience regarding this project? All right. Hearing and seeing none, what would the board like to do tonight with what we have before us? Would anyone like to make a motion, perhaps?
Sure, I will go for it, Brian. How about it?
I'll make a motion that we close the public hearing and issue an order of conditions for 6 Worcester Road, Mass DEP file number 204-0968.
Perfect. Oh, and Amy, is there a waiver associated with this?
Nope, no waiver.
None? Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. All those in roll call vote rather. Brian.
Brian Crowley, aye.
Kyle,
Maxfield, aye.
Carl.
Tom Melberg, aye.
All right, and myself, it's unanimous.
Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your
Thank
evening.
you.
Thanks, Nick.
Look,
You too. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. So let's see here. Our next hearing actually doesn't start until 9. We're going way too fast tonight.
So, well, let's talk about that because this actually doesn't happen too often.
Mhm.
So I could cut these down to 10-minute slots, which avoids having to wait around. It just means that some of the people might have to be later than they thought they were going to be.
I would maybe use your best judgment. You know these projects, right? And you've seen the discussions that we have on some of them. I'd be very hesitant to say, yes, knock them all in. But
Yeah,
I think
I mean-
you have a pretty good feel on which ones are going to take longer.
I would say, I think you're right, Kyle. I would say like the project we just had where it's 70 feet away from the wetland and
Yeah, like
existing house. We know we're not going to have a lot of discussion. Maybe something like that could be pulled back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and a septic replacement, that needs to be done. Type like those ones we had no of those tonight. Those pretty quick, but
Yeah, I agree. I think Amy, you have a pretty good feel for these things.
yeah, I'm totally comfortable letting you. If
You
you think
have-
that there's one that's only 10 minutes, then
No idea how many times I rewrote this agenda.
yeah.
9:31, 9:32. I know that.
Well, those were good estimates. Yeah, I agree with Kyle.
Actually, since we're still, this is sort of still our section, does this mean we can go ahead with our project now?
Once I have to get these guys to all sign it, and then I will issue the order of conditions to you, and there is a 10-day appeal period. Then you can get started, and you would have to record the order of conditions.
Okay, in the Middlesex County deeds.
Exactly. So
Okay.
technically, you can proceed at risk if one of your neighbors comes out of the woodworks and appeals, which you can assess that risk. But as soon as I can get it signed and issued, I'll be sending it to you, or I'll let you know and you can come pick it up, or I'll mail it to you, or whichever you want to do.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yep, no
Have a
problem.
good night.
Have a good night.
Yeah, I tend to give new stuff 15 minutes because it's the first time you've heard it. So that's definitely going to take 15.
What I've noticed is that a lot of times we do get hung up on the agenda, the administrative agenda at the beginning, and that winds up taking quite a bit of time normally. We don't
That's
know.
why I actually throw it at the beginning so you can use it as filler, with the intention that, as Andrew did, you're just going to break away from it when it's time for the first hearing.
I think lately we've been pretty good about making sure we stop that right at 7:45 or 7:35 whenever we're at first hearing.
I think Amy, what's more important is we limit the amount of discussion. I think that's much more important that you're limited. Clock starts now. You're done.
And that actually seems to be a little easier on Zoom. It seems like when we're meeting in person, it can go back and forth a lot more and take a little longer. So, but that's also why I try to put the new projects up front, because I know they're going to show up. And the old projects frequently at the last minute say, we're not ready. But the new projects are almost always ready to go.
I agree, Carl. Limiting the discussion is a great idea. Maybe cap the discussion at 30 minutes or 45 minutes or something. But if we want to take a vote at that time limit to continue the discussion, we can do that. Or we can vote to continue it to the next meeting. Kind of set a limit and then pick a street at the end of that time.
And I think we need to stick to that, Brian. lot of times we get too flexible, and if we do something like that, we really need to stick tight to it.
And I don't know about the rest of you guys, but Andrew froze.
Did I freeze?
Now your audio is going too.
Oh no. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. All right, hopefully I'm at least audible here. I don't know what's going on with my internet connection tonight. It's been very, very spotty. All right, we've got about 4 more minutes before the next hearing. So moving forward with our agenda items, perhaps maybe Amy, you could use your best judgment, like we've been saying, for scheduling, and maybe new applications could have the full 15 minutes, and then maybe recurring ones we could put as 10 minutes. Would that be a good?
That might be. I mean, some of them I know if they're recurring.
It depends on what they're.
Could take the full 15. It's hard. If you're in the middle of something like, a Cooper Farm, it's going to take 15 minutes, even if it's like the 5th meeting. But some of these ones, like the 6th Worcester we just had, or some of the ones coming up, are going to be a lot faster. And frankly, it's your call. It's worst case, you're making the applicants sit around a little bit longer. If they think it's 9:30, but it really ends up being 9:40, well, that happens a lot too.
I'd rather be late than waiting around.
Yeah.
The other way is much better than what we're doing right now.
All right, have all the parking, is Mary Shepherd, they don't have a sign yet for that parking lot, do they?
Mary Shepherd has a swing sign.
They do.
At the end of the driveway.
They could use a kiosk, or maybe a little trail sign at your end of the trails, Carl. And
yeah,
at some point, I would like to circle back, if you guys are amenable, to that loop trail in Mary Shepherd. It fell off. Frankly, I think mostly because of COVID, and Jim and Rick got totally involved in the boardwalks, and equipment broke down, so it just never got followed through. But that means going back with the abutters to talk about it.
I think we were making some good headway on that project. I'd like to bring it back up again too.
What we really need is someone to mow it. I'm drawing a blank on his name. He's going to go out and mow the field. And Jim did mow the trail, I think in June actually, but I think it's been so dry, it is held up through the field. But that field gets overgrown. Some of the other fields too, and Jim and Rick, who do most of the trail mowing, can't keep up with it. And I don't think necessarily they should have to be using all their equipment to keep up with it. So I think potentially for next fiscal year, we might need to think about hiring someone to mow some of the trails. I think we can get the fields done, but we keep getting more fields. We got the Turkey Cave field that no one's mowing.
And I know on the Mary Shepherd we talked about in the past about connecting over to Westford. I know we're having trouble making that, but we should probably at least keep that on the radar as a potential. How could we potentially connect that Mary Shepherd to the Westford conservation lands?
Yeah, I mean, that would be a huge connection.
That would just open up. That would just open up a whole new world for people.
And we need new worlds, Carl.
We do need new worlds. That's, it's a very interesting area, as you all know. I mean, it goes back to Neshoba Brook, and
I've never been back up in there.
it's just it connects to Mass Audubon. I mean, it's just an amazing area.
Yeah.
I think we should really, that's, and Mary Shepherd's the closest we get. It may just require some kind of,
Well, there's private property between us and the trails.
yeah, maybe not even an easement, maybe some type of, just agreement with the landowner. I don't know. Yes, there is a private, the horse farm.
Yeah.
I believe is the, but maybe if we stay on the edge of it, you know, we're not impacting them at all. There might be some kind of agreement. If they don't want to do an easement, maybe there's some type of, other type of agreement we can come up with.
Yeah, I'll double check. I think Rick Finley may have talked to those owners, and I know they had development plans for a while that just weren't going to happen because there's so much wetlands back there. So, you know, I have no idea who they are. I'll double check on it.
All right. Yeah, I mean, yeah, thank you.
All right, let's see, it's now 9:02 p.m. So why don't we go ahead and open up our continued public hearing for the abbreviated notice of resource area delineation for Newtown Hill Terrace, Mass DEP file number 204-0966. And that encompasses lot U31-69, 70, 71, and 72. Oh, and U30-6-0. Is there anyone here tonight to speak to this matter?
Yeah, Matt Stengel from Land Tech Consultants.
Good evening.
I am just pulling up the plan. Bear with me for a moment. Okay, so I think I have the plan open now. Matt Stengel from Land Tech Consultants, representing Hemingway Ventures. Since the last hearing, about a month ago, we had a site walk with the commission on August 15th, where we walked the wetland line. During that site walk, we also located a drainage channel that was partially shown on the first plan that was submitted. Amy recommended that we have the survey crew locate the extents of that drainage channel. You can see it's just down gradient of wetland flag 1A. It extends from the bottom of the wetlands down around the driveway at 281 Tehada 1 Road. So we have that drainage channel located and shown on the plan. We also added the 100-foot wetland buffer from the center line of that drainage channel, which just extends over that corner to the right of the end of the cul-de-sac. And then the only other change to the plan was adding a note at the, sorry, what side is it? Is that north? Yeah, the northeastern corner of the property where Amy saw a wetland off in a butter's property. So we just added a note that says that there's an unverified wetland within 100 feet of the property. But besides that, there were no changes during the site walk to any of the wetland flags, and the rest of the wetland area is the same as on the original plan. So I don't know if anyone has any questions or any further comments.
So I believe that, let's see, who was on this? So I believe that it was myself, Amy, Kyle, Tim, and I think that was, and then Michael, I believe, was also present. Does anybody else on the commission have any questions regarding this ANRAD? What's being presented before us? All right. Everybody's screen is like blacked out, so I can't see facial expressions. Okay, so hearing no questions, would anybody from the audience like to ask any questions regarding this particular matter? All right.
So Amy, you reviewed this delineation. You're happy with it?
Yeah, we met the Marine out there, and Tim and I met a little bit early and walked the whole site over to the north end just to check out some of the contours in there and agreed with the delineation. Just noticed that potential offsite wetlands. I just wanted to note on there just in case, and then like Matt said, added the stream.
So basically, we're approving this just for the delineation, correct? We haven't seen any plans yet.
No.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
All right.
Carl, just so you know, I did ask that question to the applicant as well. My understanding is there's a chance that they try to avoid the 100-foot buffer altogether. So there's a chance that we don't see this again. I know you haven't seen the property, but just so you're aware, this might be the only shot.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions or comments from the members regarding this delineation? All right. Hearing and seeing none, what is the pleasure of the board? Would anybody like to make a motion?
Sure. I will make a motion that we close the public hearing. What is it? Do we approve the ANRAD for Mass UV number 204-0966, U31 69 70 71 and 72, and U30-6-0.
All right. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. Roll call vote. Kyle.
Kyle Maxwell, aye.
Brian.
Ryan Crowley, aye.
Carl.
Carl Melberg, aye.
Myself, aye. It's unanimous.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Have a great night. All right. So it is 9:09.
I think we all vote to move Andrew's clock in.
I know. Oh my gosh. We haven't had a meeting like this in forever. We're so early. So we do have 5 minutes to burn, 6 minutes actually. Do we want to do a brief 6-minute recess and resume at 9:15? All right, why don't we go ahead and do that, and we'll resume then. Okay, it's just about 9:15. Just wait for everybody to jump back on before getting started. Okay, it looks like everybody's here. It's now 9:15, so we'll go ahead and open the continued public hearing notice of intent for 11 Lincoln Drive, Mass DEP file number 204-965 for the construction of an above-ground pool installation. And I see Mr. Harris here in the audience. Good evening.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How about yourself?
Pretty good.
All right, so why don't we get started, and feel free to put whatever plans you'd like up on the, I almost said up on the board, whatever we're calling this thing.
Okay, can you see this?
Yes.
Okay. So last time, the plan, if you remember, so we had the electrical planning to come out down here by the garage, out of the garage, avoiding the leach field this way, come along the fence and into the shed. For the suggestion of the commission, I asked the electrician if it was possible to go this way. So out of that back of the house, between the septic and the leach field, and go into the shed from here. And they said that's not a problem. So if we go this way, we totally avoid the 100-foot wetlands buffer with all of that trenching. So we come right into the side of the shed here. There's about 2 feet of shed on this end that is not in the buffer. So we can come right in, avoid entirely. And then we can put the pump right in that corner there and come out with the plumbing right at the corner and still avoid the buffer with the trenching for the plumbing. So that, there should be no issue with any of that, I don't think. So the only digging that has to be done is for the pool itself, which is basically removing sod and just enough dirt to make it level. It's relatively level as it is. This bottom end here is a little bit lower than this end, so there will have to be a little bit more dug out from this end, but this is further from the fence and further from the actual wetland. So I think it's a little bit better. The one thing that the electrician's going to have to do in this area is they have to bond the pool, which is just basically grounding the pool. And to do that, they it's not even really digging. They basically stick a shovel in the ground, about 4 to 6 inches. They don't really actually even lift any dirt out. They just stick the shovel down, move it to the side, and make just enough room for them to put a single copper wire down there. So it's almost no disturbance for that. But that is one thing that they will have to do. So other than that, there's we're avoiding like I said, we're avoiding the wetlands with all of the actual trenching, and all of the digging for this entire project, including the trenching over here, is going to be done by hand. So there's no heavy machinery at all involved. I did speak with the contractor, and he's fine with making sure that that all material is removed from site immediately. So I think that's it.
Thank you. Let's see. Do any board members have any questions or comments for the applicant?
Real quick, I think there was the only other condition was just maybe Chase asked that erosion control still be installed along the fence line?
So the contractor can do that if we need to. I mean, like I said, the trenching.
Chase isn't here, and I think that he was the one that brought that up. That's the only reason I'm
Okay, yeah, I mean the trenching, which I think was more of the issue, is going to be done outside the buffer. So it would just be, you know, a small amount of material removed here, and I can make sure too that when as they remove it, they keep it over on this side, so that nothing is in this region at all. But they said I mean, if required, they can obviously do that.
Where will the outlet pipe be from the pool?
Where the pump comes in?
No, for the drain. If you needed to drain it.
That I do not know.
Or lower the water for some reason or another. If you get too much rain, you want to lower the water. I'm just wondering.
So I mean,
where would go?
To lower the water, I mean, I can use. I don't necessarily need to use a drain. I could, you know, use some sort of pipe just or hose to dump it wherever you think would be best.
Well, I guess if you could add it to the plans, it would be helpful. Just most of the pools have a valve on them and they have a waste setting on the valve, which sends the water someplace.
Okay.
So
I mean,
if we just know where that's going, that would be helpful to us to add.
Okay.
That's a good point, Carl.
I mean, is there a more desirable place for it to be around the pool? I mean, I'm guessing you could probably put it wherever, if there is one. I mean, I don't know. It might just be that it's the same as where the plumbing comes in from the filter and the pump.
It's typically pretty close to that area. Yes.
Yeah. So then I would assume that it would be probably in this area here. But I mean, a hose could be attached. If a hose could be attached to it, and it could be directed anywhere we wanted it, really.
Want to make a condition that it's either outside of the buffer zone or shown on a plan?
Yes.
Okay, I'll make sure that it's outside the buffer zone.
Perfect. Are there any other questions, comments, or concerns from the board members?
It looks good. I appreciate you working with your electrician to move the electrical trench outside of the buffer zone. That looks great.
Yeah, no, it was a good suggestion. It didn't even occur to me that you could go this direction. So it's good.
A lot shorter.
Yeah. Let's see. It's a lot simpler of a path for sure.
Al, do you have any questions, or do you think you're good? Oh, I think you're on mute.
Sorry, my laptop died. So, no, I appreciate you working with us. I have no further concerns.
Perfect. Carl, do you have anything else you want to add?
No, I'm good. Thanks.
Do you want the erosion controls as a condition or not?
I'm not overly worried. I think the fence sits flush to the ground, if I recall correctly, too.
Right. Yeah, it does.
All right. Any members of the audience want to ask any questions or make any comments before we take any action tonight? All right. Hearing and seeing nothing from the audience, would anybody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion. We issue an order of conditions for 11 Lincoln Drive, above ground pool installation, Mass DEP number 204-0965.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Sorry, guys. All right, we've got a motion and a second. Roll call vote. Kyle.
Kyle Maxwell, aye.
Brian.
Brian Crowley, aye.
Carl.
Carl Melberg, aye.
And myself, aye. It's unanimous. All right. Good luck.
Great. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Good luck.
All right. Have a good night. Thank you. Bye.
You too.
You too.
All right.
So don't start, because the next thing is not a public hearing or meeting, so you can start them early.
Oh, perfect. All right. I will not postpone this next one. All right. So our next item on the agenda is request for certificates of compliance. And there's a lot of them here. They're for the, let's see, reading them off. I've got Mass DEP file number 204-772, Jerky Farm Roads and Infrastructure.
I think you probably just read the DEP file numbers.
Oh, perfect.
How's that?
That works for me. DEP file number 204-798, 204-807, 204-811, 204-812, 204-813, 204-815, and finally 204-867. And then down to K, we've got Mass DEP file number 204-869, and K Phase 4, Mass DEP file number 204-870. Is there anyone here tonight to speak to this? I see Brian down at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, good evening. For the record, Brian Gaudreau with Hancock Associates, also with John Riley with Hancock Associates. So this is Durkee Farm Estates and K Estates. It's been a little while since we've been before the commission. Project started back in 2015, 2016. I believe Durkee had their original orders issued. K followed a couple years later, and now we're looking to wrap up the project. Construction's done, houses are built, roads are in place. The town of Littleton has actually accepted the vast majority of the roadway out here. So we're trying to basically do some housekeeping and close out some orders of conditions. Amy and I have been working together for quite a while on this now. She compiled a list of items of discrepancies, I guess. I don't know, Amy, do you want to get into process a little bit? There were some homeowners that did work that was outside the scope of the orders after they purchased the houses, things like that.
Yeah, so I guess the commission, you really have just a couple decision trees. The Durkee started off really well with the condition that required the new owners to sign basically an affidavit that they received the order conditions and to come in. So all the ones that have already issued a certificate of compliance, those owners had come in, but then that kind of fell by the wayside. So that has not been followed through on. So that's kind of one decision if you want to get these people in front of the commission before you issue a certificate of compliance or not. And then the other one, as Brian said, there's a couple potential enforcement issues out there which had nothing to do with the developer. It was a owner's, building a deck or a patio or something. And whether or not you would want to issue a certificate of compliance for the house and then follow up with enforcement orders, or a partial certificate of compliance and then make the owner get the full certificate of compliance, which may or may not complicate things with a developer who has agreements with the owners for seeking the certificate of compliance. And then whether or not anybody wanted to go out and see probably mostly just the farm pond, and which is growing like crazy. I'm not convinced all the trees and shrubs survived in there because emergent vegetation is so thick. So all the certificate of compliance requests that came in had either a new owner that didn't sign it or some unpermitted something. So I wasn't sure how you wanted to proceed.
So my 2 cents is that I think we should have the homeowners come in, since that's how we initially started. And it's the only way that they're gonna hear it from the commission that they're in a critical area adjacent to wetlands.
And it was those owners that didn't come in that have done the violations.
That's my 2 cents there. And then the violations, I don't think we should order it certificate compliance because they violated and they built something in an area that they shouldn't have, and we've been pretty strict on that. So
I agree, Carl.
I agree also.
Are there any DEP file numbers that are clear cut that we could issue tonight, or are they all problematic?
The only one would be 204772, which is the Durkee roads. Unless anyone feels compelled to go take a look at the farm pond or something like that. The final wetland monitoring report for that area has been submitted.
How do we feel about issuing just for that one item tonight?
what would that, which item would that be?
The Durkee.
The original
Durkee
subdivision road. The road and the basins that went with the road, all of which have been accepted by the town and have as-built and were reviewed by Green. Those basins, actually all the basins at this point, have been reviewed by Green as part of the road acceptance process. And as far as I can tell, they're actually all appealed to be now functioning. Of course, it hasn't rained, Brian, so I don't know. I can go out tomorrow.
So, given that, do we want to wait until after rain? No, I'm just kidding. To move forward. Would anybody like to make a motion, perhaps, for that first item on the list, then?
I will make a motion that we issue a certificate of compliance for Mass DEP file number 204-772 for the Durkee Farm Roads and Infrastructure.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor, Kyle.
Kyle Maxwell, aye.
Carl.
Carl Melberg, aye.
Brian.
Ryan Crowley, aye.
Myself, aye. It's unanimous. All right, so I guess we'll have to invite the owners of these other properties in to speak with them regarding new violations or unpermitted work before we move forward on these certificates of compliance.
And the way I see this going forward is that the applicant would be contacting all these people because they all have to come in anyway.
Brian, is that something that you could arrange?
Potentially. I'll put it out there for Dave and Chris to figure out, who hasn't done that, which I guess is everybody. Just so I guess, so I'm clear in my discussions with them. Any work that these homeowners did of their own violation of after closing that obviously was unpermitted is going to be what's holding up the COCs from Dave and Chris. I just, like, how do we get to a resolution where we get the COCs? So they have unpermitted work. Dave and Chris, they sold the house. They had nothing to do with it. They're certainly not going to pay for me to attend or deal with violations and whatnot. How do we get to a resolution from that standpoint? Just to go on record, it would be our preference that we close out the orders of conditions on these lots for work that was completed according to the decision, and an enforcement be placed on the homeowners who went off and did whatever they did. I guess I'm confused on how we get to the goal if there's no COCs being contemplated on any of these because of unpermitted work.
Amy, as far as these projects stand, these individual house lots rather, are they all completed according to the plans that were originally submitted in the notice of intent, aside from this new work and these violations?
Yeah, the violations.
Yeah, there were 8 that had the potential violations, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, basically. So about half of them have violations and half don't. But that includes 15 Douglas, which was the after the fact one that you basically just issued the order of conditions for. So that one's kind of set aside.
I do see Brian's point where it's kind of an after the fact thing that these individual owners have gone forward and violated the rules. How does the board feel we should proceed?
Well, I will say it was one of the conditions of the original order of conditions that any property transfer that happens before the certificate of compliance, the new owner signs the little affidavit and comes in front of the commission. So I see that is on Durkee and Kay. And then how you want to deal with the potential violations. Because I have not walked behind some of these properties. I was waiting for the as-built to see what was going on back there.
That's true.
And it all just took longer than we thought. And all of these, there's one deck, I wasn't quite clear what happened there, but the rest of them were mostly patios, which do not need building permits. So they wouldn't have come in front of me for that reason.
So it does sound like we do have a gap between the builders and these individual owners when it comes to the order of conditions that was issued. So it does sound like we should probably have them come in and get that matter addressed and have them sign the associated paperwork.
And I think depending on how you feel about it, what you could do that the night that they do that is issue that certificate of compliance and an EO at the same time.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to do it, Amy. It's kind of what we did earlier. Issued that certificate of compliance, lifted the enforcement order. This time we'll be issuing the certificate of compliance and an enforcement order at the same time. If everything would have fallen in line, all these homeowners had been given the appropriate paperwork or signed the appropriate paperwork, then I think I would have agreed with Brian that they should be able to kind of wash their hands free and we deal with the homeowners individually.
Right.
But like Andrew just said, there seems to be a little bit of a disconnect there where somebody missed a step.
This is the classic problem that we try and make not happen.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be pretty tough to.
It becomes a real hassle for us and time consuming for us when these things happen.
Yeah, but like Amy said, even if it's just patios being built in somebody's backyard, then it's either an honor system or if they really don't know what they're doing, then who's gonna tell them?
Well, I think I know these properties probably already transferred owners, some of them. But to me, it's completely the developer's responsibility to make it perfectly clear to these owners that they can't do a friggin' thing on that property. It's not on the design or the permit that they got. I mean, it has to be really made clear that this is it. You're buying, what you're buying is it. Unless you come in and go through a permit, go through the Conservation Commission for the notice of intent. I mean, that's, and I don't think that was done on this property. I mean, everybody's eager to sell properties, right? When you're developing land, you want to sell the lots, and everybody's eager to do that. And this is what happens. They slip through the cracks.
Yeah, and that's always sort of been the issue, is that even if you have a certificate of compliance, the owner at closing never goes back and reads the order of conditions, the original order of conditions. It may have still active pieces of it. And I will say there were also two houses that Brian and I are going back and forth with, just to make sure I have the most recent plan, because if you remember, a lot of amendments and minor modifications were coming through. So there's two houses. I just want to make sure I got the right plans. But the rest of it is all current homeowner issues. And they have a couple signs to put up, but that's still happening.
And so to be clear, the ones that have done performed additional work are homeowners that have not signed the affidavit?
Correct.
Okay. It seems pretty clear then.
Yeah, and I will say it was effective, because the first, 15 or so houses in Durkee where the owners did come in, where they always came back to me when they wanted to do something.
Oh, good. That's what
I mean, I think, yeah, right. And if you're saying that, I think it shows that I think it's the developer's responsibility to close this loop, that they unfortunately had a misstep here.
Yeah, which is why I think you put the condition on, was to make sure that that loop is closed when it transfers.
Right. Right, exactly. We do not want these things landing on us. It puts us in a very difficult situation.
Well, I mean, with Wellington Circle, you actually asked Steve Marsh to put a deed restriction on all those houses. So it was basically a separate thing that was recorded that said you have resource areas on your property. So it's not buried somewhere in an order of conditions. So maybe that's something to consider going forward.
Yep.
And that's what Sean Keenan is going to do at 22 Woodland.
Yep.
It'll be a deed restriction on there. Because especially when you know the property is going to be flipped pretty quickly. So am I hearing, have Brian go back and see if Dave Guthrie and Chris Finnerall can contact all these property owners, start working on getting them in?
Yes.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah, that's not on you to do that, I don't think.
Okay.
All right.
And then to clarify the second piece of that, when we have them come in, these are prime for COCs to be issued and enforcement subsequently.
Yeah, that would be ideal. I think that would be the goal.
And Amy, you did say that if you may require a site inspection prior to actually issuing the COC.
Well, the COC hasn't been issued, so I can go out there. I've just been a little reluctant to be walking around people's backyards, especially because most of these have fences on them now. But I think the three at Fur, Tim and I just go out there and walk around behind it. So at least we have pictures. And actually, maybe Brian, what I'll do is, if you confirm those signs get put up, I can check those out at the same time.
Okay.
Because it's really the three on Fir, well, two of them on Fir, you really can't see without getting in the backyard. Most of the other stuff you can see from the front yard. But based on the as-built, it clearly is there.
All right. Well, it seems like we have a clear plan of action moving forward. So Brian, if you could go ahead and work with the developers to get that done, that would be fantastic. And should we put this on the next meeting agenda or maybe give it a couple meetings out? I don't know how long all of this is going to potentially take to get in line.
I'm guessing it'll spread out, but if they can get some owners in on the 20th and maybe clear up some of this other stuff, we can start chipping away at it.
Yeah, I was just going to say that if we can not have that long list all come in on one meeting, like that's not a 10-minute meeting slot for Amy to put aside, right? So, Brian, I would say if you can find a way for Chris to just get a few of these homeowners in at once, that's any progress we can make would be helpful for everybody.
Absolutely.
Perfect. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks, man.
All right. We're drawing near to the end here. So our next item for tonight was the 931 public hearing. Notice of intent for 19 Grimes Lane, DP file number 204-969, followed closely by our 9:32 p.m. public hearing for 27 Grimes Lane, DP file number 204-970. And Amy, you had mentioned before these were just on the agenda tonight to set up a few site walks if the board had any.
If anybody wanted one, which it sounds like nobody wanted one.
Going once, going twice. Now.
Where on Grimes Lane are these two?
I'm trying to remember. Well, you approved the three in there, so it's the last two.
And that would be the last two on the end closest, like across from the.
I think one is in the middle between two houses that were already approved, and then one is at the end. If I remember.
The end.
The farthest in.
Farthest end. Okay. Yeah. That's where I remember that delineation that we did over there.
Right. And he did come in with the signage, and he's got to go back and do some stormwater stuff and other things.
It was stormwater, some tree protection type stuff.
Yeah, that's.
So they got the message.
Yeah, I'm pretty familiar with that. And the moist soil.
I can't imagine what it's like now.
I do remember the moist soil and the high water table there.
It's just dust out there. It's terrible. Maybe not after today, but
not anymore. Not after the last 2 days.
I'd say they get water in basements in that area.
it's a weird hydrology back in there.
All right. Well, I do believe that that's everything on our agenda for tonight. We did pretty good tonight.
And more. Yeah. Well done, Andrew.
Not bad. Yep.
Well, thank you.
I'm gonna report back to both Sarah and Chase on how you did, Andrew.
Oh, I hope it's a good report, Carl.
Careful. Chase might say, fine, take it. Okay.
Yeah. Count down. When's Sarah coming back?
Pretty soon, right?
Yeah, pretty soon.
And she must be, Camp must be getting, she's probably just working out the closing details.
Close up, yeah.
I think.
Yeah, closing and moving horses. I try to get involved every now and then. There's no response.
She did email me this morning saying she's trying to catch up on non-work related emails. So I think she's climbing out of the camp situation. But.
If Michael Livingston, and I swear to God, I forget, it's fairly serious surgery he's going in for. I think it was heart.
Oh my God.
not actually remember. The reason he didn't make it tonight was because he was just so tired. He clearly needs the surgery. If he can't follow through with the Cobb CR, do any of you guys want to do that with Chase?
Sure.
All right.
Yeah.
I was gonna try to get that. I'm trying to pull Sarah into that because it's got to be close because she's gonna have a lot of opinions on this anyway because she was involved in it from the start. So
Yeah, that's I've been involved for most of it, but not as much as Sarah has, obviously. So
yeah. All right. I'll put you in deep background, Kyle, just in case, and we'll see where it goes.
it works for me.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Well, if there's nothing else for tonight, would anybody like to make the last motion of the evening?
Yes, I will make a motion that we close the Conservation Commission for September 6th at, what do we have? 9:51?
9:50. Second. All right. All those in favor, Kyle.
Kyle Mansfield, aye.
Brian.
Brian Crowley, aye.
Carl.
Carl Melberg, aye.
Myself, aye. It's unanimous. Good meeting, everybody.
Good night. You got a lot done.